How's it going? Welcome to Chats with Spencer. My guest this week is a good friend of mine who I've known for a while now. I respect him a lot because he left his job at a company which he was at for a few years to start up his own company, and he's been doing that for the last several years now. He recently just had a baby, so he's even busier than he is usually. He is Rami Emera. Rami's such a good guy. Like I said, he's probably the busiest person I know, but he has such a great heart and he's such a great person. So enjoy my interview with Rami. All right, Rami, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Spencer?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well considering.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
All right, so Rami, I was just wondering, could you just tell us maybe a bit about where you grew up, kind of like what kind of kid you were, what kind of interests you were into, and maybe is there like a childhood story you could share with us that like kind of sums up who you were as a kid?
I was born in Kuwait. I lived there for 17 years. We did go through the Gulf War in 1990. We had to flee back to Egypt when that happened, but after 2 years or so, we
Mm-hmm.
ended up back in Kuwait again. The type of kid I was more of a loner. I would just sit down there on
Mm-hmm.
my own and play with
Mm-hmm.
my own toys. I
Mm-hmm.
remember playing with my action figures a lot in my own bedroom. Never really hung out with my sister as much as I should have. But yeah, I remember playing with like Thundercat action figures and
Okay.
and Ninja Turtles and
Mm-hmm.
make my own stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my own world, man. I was very creative since I was a kid. I would just those kids that will hold the action figure
Mm-hmm.
or toy and just make these weird sounds, woo,
Mm-hmm.
and like go up and down and stuff. That was me, and never shy to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think I'm still that same person, so in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
So as a little kid, I was like such a nice and naive little kid,
Mm-hmm.
but I used to love playing football, soccer, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I mean. And what I used to do is back in the day, we used to live in a complex building, and all the kids would go downstairs and play football.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having the best time of my life. I love football, so I
Mm-hmm.
would just keep playing hours and hours until I hear my mom calling me out of the balcony, come upstairs and stuff. The next day, I come downstairs and there was no one there, and I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to play. So
Mm-hmm.
I went up to the, and it was two girls that I had known what floor they lived in. They were
Okay.
twins. So I went upstairs to their unit, to their flat, and knocked on there. And then uh, out of nowhere, the most unexpected thing was their dad opening the door, and he shows up in only his like underwear.
Okay.
And I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what do you want? And I was very dismissive. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm looking for, I can't even remember their
Mm-hmm.
names,
Yeah.
obviously. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for so and so. And I was hoping that they could come downstairs and play football with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, they're not available today. And I was like, okay. And I think that was like the very first moment where
Mm-hmm.
my innocence was like put in check, kind of thing. Like you can't just go to people's doors and knock and be like, can I have your kid come
Mm-hmm.
downstairs and play with me, kind of thing. There were rules, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just like so open and naive, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna knock on the door. What's the worst that's gonna happen? They're just gonna come down and we're gonna play football.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was just a funny story that I could remember as a little kid, and I'm literally talking as I was like a 6 year old or
Mm-hmm.
something.
So, for any of the viewers out there, I know Rami for several years now, and we actually met because of, I'll just refer to it as soccer, just because North Americans need us to keep on saying
Sure.
that. So we met through playing soccer together. And I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, Rami, do you have a memory of soccer in the sense of a specific like sporting memory? So maybe you were on a team and you had like a really good game, or there was like a pivotal game you played in, and it just like kind of sticks out in your head, that kind of thing.
You know, funny enough, a lot of my memories I had was playing soccer with you. Um,
Oh, okay, all right.
like it was because it was a lot of like fun. Like
Okay.
there wasn't about like trying to win, or it wasn't like we
Mm-hmm.
weren't even keeping score. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like go there and just be fit and run up and down a
Mm-hmm.
gazillion times.
Mm-hmm.
And the funniest memories were like, I think you guys used to call me Torres
Oh
because of how I
yes.
used to miss like open goal
Yes.
chances.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I remember once, in fact, you were defending against me or something,
Okay.
and I was literally on my side of the of our court or
Mm-hmm.
half, and I curled the ball, and from one touch I
Mm-hmm.
scored, and everyone was looked at me and they were like, "Wait a second, so you missed the easy chances and the
Yeah.
hardest one you were able to score it just like
Mm-hmm.
that." But another memory I remember too is I was trying to defend and I was clearing the ball off the line,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what the hell I did, but like I just put my body into a position where
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be, and I literally felt like every vertebrae of my spine just
Oh,
crack.
ugh.
And I mean, when I once I heard that, I was like, oh fuck, did I just fuck myself over because of clearing the ball off the line? And literally, we're just having fun. But yeah, I got up and everything was just fine. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was an amazing chance that I cleared off the line. And but yeah, it's these memories that really stick with me. Those fun moments of literally you're laughing the whole time. You're not angry about a missed chance or someone not opened for a pass or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah, I can agree. Those were some of the most fond memories, and it's just the sense of soccer at its purest. You know, you're just playing with your friends. You're doing it for exercise and fun. And like you said, we
Yeah,
didn't even keep score, so it was amazing times.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wish we
uh,
could do it again one day.
that's gonna be a tough
Yeah,
job to do,
everyone's
just
busy
because
with all their lives now. Yeah,
yeah, their lives, and even when we do get together, it's like people cannot run for like 30 seconds. So I'm not
that's me.
exaggerating, Ron.
That's me. That's me.
To
Oh
be
no.
old.
Yeah.
All right, Rami. Can you maybe just talk about some of the things you're passionate about? I know you're passionate about your job and like being creative and stuff, but like you're obviously a big soccer fan. But maybe like some other things that you're equally as passionate about.
I'm very passionate about cooking.
Okay,
That's one
that's.
thing a lot of people don't really know about me or even
Mm,
expect of me when they see me. But yeah, if it isn't soccer and Arsenal or work and development and programming and running a business, it's cooking. It's my therapy.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I love being like people laugh at me when I say this, but I feel like I'm an artist in their room, just in their own domain, in their zone, and I could be playing music in the
mm-hmm,
background, and I don't ever feel like cooking when I'm in a bad mood.
mm-hmm,
But when I'm in a good mood, I just go in there and I come up with the best tasty dishes ever.
mm-hmm,
And in fact, I'm really hoping that one day uh, I'll have my own restaurant
mm-hmm,
and start sharing these delicious dishes with everyone.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, I've had people, Susie's friends, Susie, my wife,
mm-hmm,
just co-workers that I've never met before that would just come over for dinner, and literally they're bugging her to come back again for dinner just so they can try that dinner again. And I've had friends who even suggested to uh, invest in me, like,
mm-hmm.
and to help start up the restaurant and whatever. But the scariest part is for me is I don't want to ever turn the one thing I find as my passion into work.
Mm-hmm.
And um, as much as I want to share all these great flavors with everyone, I just don't want to make it into something I hate.
And that's fair. I know from like my mom's parents ran a restaurant, and she like tells me to this day it's like one of the hardest jobs you can do. Like anybody has owns their own restaurant, it has to be a labor of love,
Absolutely.
because if it's not, you would not be doing that job, because it is not. There's so much time and effort you need to put into it. It is literally your home. So,
Oh, absolutely. I can definitely relate to that because like when people come over, they're like, "Oh, when did you start cooking this big ass meal?" And I would be like, "Oh, I started around 2 p.m. up until 8 p.m. So six
mm,
hours straight in the
mm,
kitchen." And they're like, "Oh man, I can't ever do that." And I'm like, "I don't even feel it. It's a
mm,
labor of love for sure, but I can see that it can get really crazy if you're doing that on a daily basis." And
yes.
but I mean, now that I've learned how to run a business or whatever,
Hmm.
the best thing I can think of is just like train people who would do the grunt work, and you just share the recipes and
Yes.
become that
Hmm.
quality assurance where
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the food is really up to par to your standard and whatever. So maybe one day.
Is there an origin story to your cooking? Like love for cooking? Were you a kid that was constantly in the kitchen, or was it just something you discovered later in life?
A mixture of A and B, I guess.
Okay.
So I remember again, probably I was 6 years old or so, maybe five. I remember seeing my grandpa being the one who cooked, and he'd start from early on in the day, like whether it's washing the vegetables or peeling them or whatever, doing all that prep work. And I would sit there watching him. And growing up, I always saw my mom the one doing the cooking, so I always had that stupid stereotype that it's always the mother
Okay.
of the household,
Mm.
the one cooking. But seeing him doing that intrigued me, and I was like, oh, let me see what he's doing there. And the meal at the end of the day was amazing.
Hmm.
But then I guess that went away. It was just like sitting in the background kind of thing, like the
Hmm.
seed that's in the mind. And I never really took it seriously until I came to Canada on my own without my family, and I had to basically fend for myself and cook for myself. It was the only way to afford it. You couldn't be eating outdoors all the time.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, like I basically would turn on the food TV,
Hmm.
and you'd watch. I think one of the guys there, Emerald Lagasse, was
Hmm.
one of the inspiration. Michael Smith is also another is a very famous Canadian chef. I saw him in person in one of the food expos, which was amazing. Uh, but yeah, I mean, spending hours and hours, people would usually sit down and watch. Back in the day, you watch Friends
Hmm.
and episode after the other TV shows. And with me, it was more food TV, and um, yeah, I just basically would apply that. And I guess the curious scientist, crazy mad
Hmm.
scientist in me would always be like, well, maybe let me try this
Hmm.
instead. Like, and what really spoke to me was Michael Smith. He always had this famous show where he would say, "Cook without a recipe,"
Hmm.
and I loved that. I loved because I never liked structure. I always
Hmm.
wanted to come up with something different. So I would always sit down and try different things, add a little bit more and a little bit less. And one of the things I think I told you about a few years ago is I was hoping to start out my own YouTube channel where I would sit down and deconstruct a really famous dish like
Hmm.
a fried chicken sandwich or
Hmm.
whatever, and really come up with all different ways of frying that chicken sandwich, whether
Hmm.
it's like with panko breading or potato starch or
Hmm.
rice flour or whatever it
Hmm.
is, marinating the chicken, really putting in the time and effort into the dish and not just like in and
Hmm.
out kind of thing.
Hmm.
So
That's
yeah.
funny that you said that about the Food Network. That was literally came to Canada. I feel like it came to Canada when I was in grade six. So I mean, like that's ages ago at this point. But like it came with like a bunch of different channels, and I remember when that channel came, that was like the one I was excited about.
Yeah,
And it's just yeah, definitely like when you watch it, it's inspiring
absolutely.
right like, and it's like oh hey and they make it in such a way where they're encouraging you to do it. They're like it's easy. They're not trying to do anything that's like unobtainable. But yes, I completely agree with you in the sense of cooking. It is an art, and its feel. It's, there's so much personality in it.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I keep telling Susie this, and I really feel like I can actually taste, because of the experience of being in the kitchen and the art behind it. I've come to a point where I could almost taste the flavors in my mind now
Okay.
before I even make like Susie sometimes would be like, oh, here's a sauce that I made or a dip that I made. Taste it, and what do you think is missing? And just I'd take a spoonful, and literally in my mind I could feel like computing kind of thing, like calculating, and then I'd be like, add a bit of this, add a bit of that, add a bit of this, and then boom, it tastes amazing. So I definitely have that talent to, like, a hidden thing that I never knew. I don't know if it came out of experience or I really just grew up with it and I never knew about it. But yeah, it's definitely something that I have a huge advantage of. But like you said, they don't make the Food Network episodes as good as they used to anymore. It's all about challenges and stuff
A lot of
nowadays.
competition, right?
Yeah, and maybe that's what people want,
I think
because
so. It's more reality driven versus like, oh, just the camera and the chef, like.
Yeah.
All right, Rami. So this question is talking about music. Is there a song from your childhood that you have like very vivid memories of, and it still kind of like resonates with you? So maybe a song your parents played, a song you heard with your friends, just something along those lines.
The musical person in the family growing up was my mother. She doesn't really speak any English, so a lot of the music I used to listen to from her were Arabic.
Okay.
And yeah, like to this day, I could even remember the lyrics for a lot of them. A very famous female artist back in, like, she used to listen to a lot of classical music, Arabic classical music. So this woman was probably in the 60s or 50s or something like that. I don't know if you even want to know the name, or even if
you
you're
can
gonna
throw
remember.
It out there.
Her name is Nagat Saghira. And the song that really resonates with me is called Arjuna Help, which literally means the eyes of your heart, or something like that. It's a song basically of a woman who is going through a hard time with her significant other, her partner. And how he's all out and enjoying his life and not really paying attention to her or giving her the love and affection that she's looking for. And she would stay up all night thinking about him, and you could really tell how much she really loved him through the song. But he's all out there and partying and enjoying his time and coming home and all tired and not really giving her the love and attention that she needed. So yeah, that is one song that I would, until this day, I would still play in my shower and sing.
Nice. And just along the similar line, do you remember the first album you bought, asked for, or downloaded?
I would probably say Linkin Park.
Okay.
Linkin Park and Pink, where I know they're completely different genres, but I was very into all different kinds of music. But I remember those two albums. Oh, and Eminem as well. Yeah, yeah, those and Metallica too. So those were the big four. I can remember having those albums and always listening to them.
And I'm just curious, Rami, when you came to do school in Canada, what was like the most weird part of Canadian culture to you when you first came?
I think it was the dating scene. Yeah, like coming back from back home, like if you're gonna date someone, it's serious as fuck. Like there's no let's date a little, fool around, and break it up and find someone else. So if you're gonna ask someone out, you gotta know what you're getting yourself into, kind of thing, and you've
Okay.
gotta do all your background checks. And looking back at it, coming back to Canada, I can see there were a lot of, I don't know if you want to call them missed opportunities,
Okay.
but
What
like,
ifs?
yeah, like where you're like, oh, this girl was actually hitting on me, but I really thought she was just being friendly. Uh, and to this date, it took me a while to even ask what now is my wife out. Like
Mhm.
literally everyone around me was like, dude, she likes you. You need to ask her out. And I was like, no, she's just being friendly. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of other people out there would be like, this motherfucker. I tried to give him so many
Mm,
different
mm.
pointers, but he would never come out of his shell. And
Mm.
I wouldn't say I was shy. I think it was more being respectful and trying really hard to not ruin what is already, I thought, was a friendship.
That's
Uh,
fair.
yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely had that similar experience of being like totally oblivious to stuff, and then in like retrospect, you're just like, yeah, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, Rami. So this question, I'm just gonna like mix it up a little bit. So you obviously you're an entrepreneur. You're into like making new things. Who would you like? So anybody in the world and in history, who would you want to like work with as a business partner?
I think, I mean, I may have already brushed upon these names
Hmm.
in earlier conversation, but really, Elon Musk, I really like where he's coming from. He's really like the modern day version of Iron Man, where he's really trying to push the boundaries and trying to apply a lot of this sci-fi tech out
Hmm.
there that we see in Hollywood and the movies, and try to make it happen, and isn't scared to fail or make a huge investment and come out of it the way he has come out of it. I have a lot of respect for that. Um, I mean, as society ourselves, I think we have a lot to learn from that. A lot of
Hmm.
people are very risk averse and worried about making that leap forward or going all in, or
Hmm.
even considering doing something that could fail.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, if you have someone like that on your side, and not because he's rich, I mean, I don't even look up to Jeff Bezos, with all due respect. Uh, but yeah, I have a lot of respect for someone like that. Another one is Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
That guy knows so much about so many different things in life that
Hmm.
um, I just want to sit down like a little kid in a classroom and just fold your arms and be as quiet as fuck and just listen to everything he has to say.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, sadly, there are not a lot of people that agree with him and might hate me for liking him, but it is what it is. I have a lot of respect for how much knowledge this guy has.
Rami, if you could travel back to any time period, and it doesn't have to just be in human history, it could just be like prehistoric as well. What time period would you visit and why?
The easy answer would be probably back when Bitcoin was 80 cents. um, but my curious personality would probably push the boundaries and be like, I'd like to be around 50,000 years ago and see
Mhm.
what these people are doing and how they were doing. And I think I've already mentioned this name already. Graham Hancock has a really great talk with Joe Rogan, where they talk about the possibility of a missed civilization, where
Mhm.
there were a lot of there's a lot of research and science going in and discoveries in archaeology, where they're finding human remains, or what was supposedly human remains,
Mhm.
that dated back 12,000, even 20 odd 30 odd thousand years old. And there's this big, huge gap of information that we're missing out on, and they're claiming that it could have been some sort of meteoroid or asteroid or whatever it is that crashed in on Earth and
Okay.
basically decimated all that civilization and its knowledge that went along with it.
All right, we're going to switch pace a little bit, do some less in depth questions, but stop me if you want to elaborate. Uh, Cats or dogs? I already know the answer, but
Hands down, dogs.
spring or fall?
Spring.
M&Ms or Smarties?
M&Ms.
One of your favorite movies?
Fine, I'll say Gladiator.
If your next meal could be anything in the world, what would it be?
A very famous Egyptian dish called molokhia.
When you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be an architectural engineer.
What's your go-to snack at a convenience store?
Probably a Bueno or a Kit Kat.
Favorite childhood TV show?
Thundercats.
What are some of your favorite video games of all time?
I would say Pro Evolution Soccer.
Okay. Who is the greatest player to ever play on Arsenal?
Thierry Henry.
Okay.
Actually, it's a toss-up between that and Dennis Bergkamp.
Okay, fair enough. As an Arsenal fan at this moment, where do you think things are going to go in the next few years?
uh, I mean, you can only hope it's going to go positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. The team is definitely improving a lot under Arteta right now, and a huge breath of fresh air from back when we were with Arsene Wenger, with all due respect. But yeah, if Arteta can get a good season without injuries or COVID and his actual team, and he's probably going to have to go through a few transfer windows for that, then we can maybe bring back the glory days that we're living off of.
Okay, so this might be kind of hard to name, but can you just, it does not have to be limited to Arsenal, just in general, can you name me your starting 11 for a football team?
Ooh. Is that for current players or all the time
No,
players?
all of time, and it's just your favorites. It doesn't have to necessarily be like, oh, I want to win.
In the back, I would say Oliver Kahn
Okay.
as a goalkeeper. And then in defense, I would say Paolo Maldini and Lilian Thuram.
Mm-hmm.
On the left back, I would say Roberto Carlos, and on the right back, I would say Cafu.
Okay.
In midfield, I would say Zinedine Zidane, Luis Figo. And I would also put in there, who's that really? Patrick Vieira. And then I'll put 4 in front because I love a lot of forwards.
Okay.
Thierry Henry. Also, I'll put Dennis Bergkamp as an offensive midfielder.
Okay.
I would like to also put Ibrahimovic. And I mean, everyone is going to probably put in that team Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi. And I don't blame them, but I'm trying to be original.
Fernando Torres. All right, let's go.
No. Um, who was a really good striker? Uh, thinking. Mm, oh, Ronaldo. Brazilian Ronaldo.
Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I have you at a 4-2-1-3 formation.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I was just keeping track.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't
Okay.
know. I think you might have put 3 guys in the midfield though. I know you said I counted, but don't worry about it. I switched it. We'll assume you're switching out one of those in the midfield. What was it? Vieira, right? And Zidane are the 2 in the middle, right?
So Figo, Zidane, Patrick Vieira, and Bergkamp. So 4.
4.
And 4 in the back. And then the 3 in the front, I would say Thierry Henry, Ibrahimovic, and Ronaldo. 4-4-3.
4-4-3. Okay.
Wait. No,
Isn't it
it should be
4-4-2?
4-4-2.
That's why I was like, yeah, the goalie's the one counts as the 11. So.
Yeah. Then I'll take Ibrahimovic out and put Henry and Ronaldo in there.
Okay. All right. Let me see.
You'd think someone who knows football would know would say 4-4-2 and not 4-4-3. But anyways,
that's okay. I was just like, am I remembering this wrong?
That's
But I'm
just
like, no,
me.
the goalie is 11. Okay.
It's been a long day, man.
All good. We'll edit it out. So Rami, just can you maybe just tell us a bit, or maybe I'll just address it in the question. But one thing I really respect about Rami is he was working a job, just like an office job at a company in Toronto, but it really wasn't fulfilling. It really wasn't making him happy. And one day he decided, hey, this is not for me. I'm going to do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he had other opportunities as well, but he decided to do this, pursue, like, be his own boss, have his own company. And I respect that so much. But maybe, Rami, you can maybe elaborate more on that story. I'm sure I'm missing some details, and just let us know, what your company does.
When I very first started, I was programming websites and whatever. So there was a lot of staring at the computer screen and I missed that human element of interacting with people and whatever. And when I got sick of that, I started applying for other jobs, and I did have other senior level positions handed to me or offered to me, and I completely went against all of that and went with Deloitte, and just so I can explore more of the business aspect of things. And no regrets there, because I learned so much when it came to presenting or presentations, talking to partners and high-level executives from financial institutions, and interviewing them and building that confidence, and how to put yourself together and say the right thing at the right time, and how to sugarcoat things and sell something to someone when it really was worth nothing. But that was the part really that hit me, which is although I can't say anything bad about Deloitte, one thing I hated about it is that I always felt that we were trying to sell something to the client that wasn't really there, or wasn't really going to happen. Okay. And I'm not saying they're scam artists or whatever, but they're so ambitious, and they're always selling that carrot at the end of the stick. And everyone wants to meet and pass their audits and whatever to make their own clients happy. But I always, from a technology perspective, felt that you're going to have to go through so much money and time and effort in order to achieve what you want to achieve. And sometimes I didn't even think that the product that we were trying to present to them or sell them actually existed in the market in the first place. I mean, it's something that everyone is striving for, but I don't think it was built yet. And that was really frustrating, and it didn't really speak to my personality. I'm a very honest, straightforward person.
Mm.
And I think the moment really hit me too. And I was sitting in a meeting, and one of the partners was trying to sell this idea to a client
Mm.
at a bank, and I was sitting through it, and I was like, the client had asked a question, and I thought we were stumped, and we couldn't answer it because I
Mm.
didn't think that solution existed.
Mm.
And had I been the one responding, and
Mm.
thankfully not, I would have said, "This does not exist. You're
Mm.
dreaming." But
Mm.
the partner at that table basically was able to draw up a picture out of nowhere, and yeah, the partner just came up with a solution out of nowhere. And in my mind, I was like, dude, you are good, but this is absolute bullshit, and
Mm.
that this solution does not exist. And I was like, this is the person I'm supposed to be looking up to become, and
Mm.
I can never see myself being that person.
Mm.
um, and then the other, so that really questioned a lot of what I'm doing, and whether
Mm.
is it the right thing.
Mm.
And I was on a project where there was a lot of commuting happening. I was actually uh, commuting for like an hour and a half each way.
Mm.
And uh, being the person who I am, I pretty much just kept pulling out books and started
Mm.
learning and reading and using all that hour and a half back and forth.
Mm.
And I did this for like 6 months straight on that project, just reading, and absorbing and questioning, what am I doing? And is this the right thing? And I think, and then when I would get home, I would start watching all these TED Talks.
Okay.
And one of them that I had seen was this kid, an 8-year-old, I think, who was having a TED Talk, and he was talking about how he built this app, and he didn't make any money out of it, but
Mm.
at the end of the day, he had a TED Talk, and I was like,
Mm. Yeah.
hold on a second, I went to university for this shit,
Mm.
and I'm doing nothing in my life that is going to recognize me
Mm.
at all for whatever I'm accomplished. Um, so yeah, part of which inspired me to even start learning applications and on iOS and Android, and learning a new programming language and whatever.
Mm.
I mean, in university, I basically knew the basics of programming
Okay.
because they never really taught us, University of Toronto, any of iPhones or Android phones didn't
Mm.
even exist at that point.
Yeah. True.
So they never really taught us Objective-C, which is the programming language for iOS, or I mean, we did know Java, which is used for Android, but for some reason, the iOS market was bigger in North America, so I
Mm.
was like, I want to learn something
Mm.
new. I want to do that. So yeah, I got myself into that, and as I kept reading even more books, and they were basically looking. One thing they kept teaching you in them is that as human beings in society, we always like take things for granted. We always accept anything as is.
Mm.
We may complain about it, but move on. But no one sits there for a second and thinks for a solution for that problem. And yeah, I basically started like reprogramming myself, where I sit down and just try to identify anything that I'm going through every day that is a problem. And at that point, it was my wife getting me sick and tired of her alarms.
Mm.
She would always put them on snooze.
Mm.
And I was like, maybe I need to come up with an alarm clock app that just can get her out of bed
Mm.
once and for all. And I don't need to be, because at the end of the day, it was me who would basically end up being the one waking up from her alarms and waking her up,
Mm.
and asking her to put her phone off already or stop her snoozing. And yeah, I came up with the very first alarm clock app. It did amazingly well in specific cultures.
Interesting.
Yeah, I never expected that, building an app, that it would be influenced based on culture.
Mm.
But it really did well in Japan and South Korea, where the culture there is all about work.
I could see that.
and efficiency. And
Mm.
it was always about, okay, I need to get up now.
Yes.
But other cultures, like even Egypt, especially in in lazy tropical areas, they hated that app. They gave
Mm.
it like a 1-star rating. They were like, "Dude, I want to break my phone because of this app." Because the way the app worked was that it would, when the alarm goes off, it would not stop until you actually answered a mathematical question. And we're not talking about in calculus or algebra
Mm-hmm.
here, just something to get your mind going. And the whole
Mm-hmm.
idea behind it was when the brain starts working, you're not interested to go back to sleep again.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then basically started building game apps from there. That didn't do too well because of how saturated the market is
Yes.
and how much capital you really need. And that,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I felt like I was building better and better apps as I went through, but maybe the graphics was lacking.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's one thing I've also learned that I really stick by is insanity, as Einstein defined it,
Mm-hmm.
is doing the same thing over and
Yep.
over again and expecting different results.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to pivot from there and come up with something different, and I came up with the Albomi app, which is a huge success right now, um, and it's what's given me the opportunity to have that go on cruise control and start
Mm-hmm.
using some of the income from it
Mm-hmm.
to start developing any of my other crazy ideas, entrepreneurial ideas, a few in cryptocurrency, and
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, uh, that's my story.
Can people come to you to make their app?
Yeah, and I've had many people come up to me to build their app, and the saddest part is when people come up to me expecting that I would build them an app for free or for cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And the expectations that people have out there is that building an app is an overnight thing or a cheap thing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they get that illusion because of the amount of apps out there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. True.
But what's important is that if you're gonna come up to me, you're gonna have to have your capital. You're gonna have to have your money. I'll help you. I know the formula to help anyone come up
Mm-hmm.
with a successful app. And I don't want to sound cocky here, but I have succeeded in that formula, and I know
Mm-hmm.
multiple times, and I know how to do it. The saddening part is the people that come in with no funding at all, and then when you share the idea with them, they're like, "Oh, okay, well, see ya, thank you, goodbye." Or I've had people with false promises who will remain nameless, where they're like, "Yeah, I've got the funding," and then they'll like maybe give you the first installment, and then halfway through the development, they're like, "Oh, I don't have any more money," and you're like, "Well, what am I supposed to do now?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a huge learning experience for sure, for me at least. That now I have to make sure everyone's got their funding in place. But yeah, if you've got a great idea, and I'm frank enough to say it right to your face to tell you, yes, I'd like to be involved in this idea because I see potential in it, or no, you're just wasting my time. Um, but hey, if you have the money and you want to waste my time, I'll take it. It goes against a lot of my values, but I probably wouldn't be the first person working on it. I'd probably have other people, some of my connections, helping them through it, because maybe this is their baby, and who am I to say something will work or not work?
So Rami, what do you think your like big driving force is? I know you stated in a lot of your answers this like you enjoy being creative. So is that like one of your big like factors that make you so passionate to do things? Because just for like some backstory, if you ever try to get a hold of Rami, he's like always working. And I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm just literally saying it's really hard to get a hold of him because he is really busy with his projects.
I'm
So
so sorry about that.
all good, all good.
No, I think it's just my mind is always thinking of solutions. It's always
Mm-hmm.
thinking of ideas. I don't know if it's just that I want to be creative. I think it
Okay.
just comes naturally, and I'm always like sitting down, analyzing and assessing my surroundings. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I think it's something that I've taught myself through reading all of these books. Is that a lot of people sit down and go through the motions and take things for granted and just
Mm-hmm.
think this is life. And I'm always thinking, no, there's usually there, like the reason we're here where we're at right now is because someone sat down there in their room or in their on their toilet seat, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and thought of this idea, and it was nobody had thought of, and we're at where we're at, like the internet, like WhatsApp,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, whatever it is. And I don't think a lot of these people were thinking of these ideas just to make money. Maybe a little bit, but they thought of they identified a problem
Mm-hmm.
and came up with a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm more of a problem solver, and maybe the creativity comes into play. And I guess because of as a programmer, you can write the same you can come up with the same solution or output, but
Mm-hmm.
write it in so many different ways. Just like the English language, you could say the exact same thing in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're programming, you gotta be creative as fuck. You gotta come up with so many different ways to get to that solution that you want. And yeah, and I guess I guess I programmed my own brain. I don't know, where
Mm-hmm.
I'm always sitting down, always coming up with solutions
Mm-hmm.
of things that I've identified in a problem. And I think I've gotten my wife sick of it, because literally we'd be sitting down and talking about anything, and I'd be like, you know what would be a really good idea if we do this, if we do that. But sometimes it goes nowhere. Sometimes I'll write it down, and or sometimes it's just forgotten about.
So Rami, is there one thing you'd like to achieve in your lifetime? Just in general, doesn't have to be business related, just an achievement you'd like to do.
I think one of the biggest things that drove me is in life is trying to prove a lot of my doubters
Mm-hmm.
growing up. A lot of the people that thought um, I'm not going to go anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not going to achieve anything at all, or this guy is just full of fluff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the very famous stories that I will never forget is in university. Uh, Surprise, mom and dad, if you're watching this, I was on probation at university. And I had gotten my grades back up to get back into computer science, and I
Mm-hmm.
went and knocked on my professor's door, and he was the head of the faculty. I'll never forget his name, Richard Panzer. And I was like, "Yeah, I've got this GPA, and I'd like to get back in computer science." And he just was like, "No, thank you," and just shut the door.
Mm-hmm.
And that really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was one of the stories that come to mind, and that rejection has come so many times, whether it's to applying to jobs or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and or family and friends who've always doubted me. And if it's anything, it's just wanting that approval or recognition of um, he's actually that I was all wrong about Rami, or all wrong
Mm-hmm.
about him. And yeah, that's it. I really can't think of. I mean, other than success and coming up with a crazy $1 billion idea, I wouldn't say no to that as an achievement. Um, but I'm always striving to come up with a solution to a problem that may help humanity or society in some way or another. Um, Whether it's renewable energy or helping the poor, saving the world. And it might sound cliche, but I really am more focused on ideas like that, as opposed to other ideas out there that people are funding for millions and really not taking human society anywhere.
Rami, are there any words of wisdom you try to live by, or just a saying you enjoy?
There are a lot of things that I try to live by, and I think the one thing I'm going to emphasize on here, if it's going to help anyone out there listening to this, is never fear failure. When I left Deloitte and did my own thing and had opportunities to go to other companies, I had an offer from Google. I have been bombarded by offers from Facebook and Amazon. I've said no to all of those, and I'm not trying to brag here, but I didn't see myself going anywhere with this. I you were basically going to be told what to do, and here's the structure, do it and go home, and that's it. Wake up and keep doing the same thing over and over again. I really want people to get out of their comfort zone and never be scared to fail. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I always ask myself that question: what's the worst that's going to happen? And if that worst thing that you've thought through isn't going to hurt you or hurt anyone in any way, shape, or form, then there's really nothing wrong with that. And because all the failures, and I have failed a lot of times, it's because of these failures that I've become so successful, or I consider myself successful. But yeah, other things like I've mentioned through this interview is insanity. Don't do the exact same thing over and over again and expect different results. Don't keep running into a brick wall and over and over again. Maybe consider going around that wall. And the ones that people always say is the cup half full or half empty? And yeah, okay, the cliche way of answering it is, yeah, always look at things as half full. But the one statement I heard, which was amazing, was that it doesn't matter if it's half full or half empty. It matters how long you hold that cup for. That cup is going to feel heavy as fuck if you're holding it for quite a while. So maybe try to get rid of all the package and all of the negativity that's surrounding you and you're holding on to, and maybe then you'll be able to hold the cup and whether it's half full or half empty.
Raman, can you maybe just let our viewers know maybe the name of your company, maybe where we can find you online, and maybe just throw out a couple apps that you've worked on?
The name of the company is CodeApp, KODE space AAP, and that means coding monkey in Afrikaans, inspired by Ubuntu, which is an Afrikaans word. The way to find me is email me. I should have my website up and running, but I've been very lazy and very busy. I've actually been have had people reach out to me when I don't even have a website up, which is a very good problem, I guess. But it used to be codeapp.com. I still have the domain. I promise I'll have a website up soon where people can contact me through a contact form through that website. But if you urgently need to get hold of me, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. It's Rami Emera, Rami, Emera, Emera, or rami.emera@gmail.com.
Yeah, I'll link it in the description of this video anyway.
Sure.
And any apps that you can just throw out there?
I mean, I had quite a few apps out there, and I took them down. mostly because they required more effort into
That's fair.
maintaining them, and they weren't really generating as much as I'd like them to be. But the ones out there, that's my bread and butter and my success story is Albumi, Albumii, which means my album in Arabic. And people can go on there and upload photos from Facebook, Instagram, or their camera roll. They can design photo books or wall arts or single prints, and we print them in-house and deliver them right to your door. Our biggest competitor out there is Shutterfly, but don't want to brag too much, but we've done our market research and analysis, and hands down, our printing quality is 10 times better than theirs.
Is it available like in Canada right now?
Yeah, it is. We've been part of our business growth strategy is to focus on a specific region to really test out different products and really find out what's working and what's not. And that's been basically the Gulf region, which is Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Emirates, United Arab Emirates, and we're definitely planning to grow marketing wise internationally, globally, Europe, North America, South America. But anyone at the moment, anywhere around the world, can go on the App Store or Google Play Store, download the app, place an order, and it will be delivered right to their door. And if you want, just reach out to me and I'll give you a good discount. Especially that the delivery fees from the Arab world to anywhere around the world during these times, especially during COVID times, is crazy. So maybe I can give a helping hand here by giving anyone who's interested a discount.
All right, awesome. Well, you heard it here, folks. Reach out to Rami if you want a discount on that app. Oh, okay. Well, Rami, thanks so much for coming on and talking to me. I really enjoyed learning more about you. And, Rami and I we've had long conversations in the past. So this is cool adding on to like the stuff I already knew. So thanks for your time.
As usual, Spencer, it's a pleasure talking with you. I could probably spend hours and hours talking with you. Mostly it might be just me who loves talking, but you're a great listener. And I appreciate you for that. And I appreciate all the great times we've spent together. And thank you for organizing this. And I apologize for delaying for all the work I've had, but we made it.
Yeah, well, it's been a few months in the making. Let's just, we'll leave it at that. But it's okay. I appreciate your time, Rami. And one thing you forgot about your Deloitte story, you said it was a good experience. Plus, Rami would not know me if you don't work at Deloitte. So you gotta
shout out to Andrew Silla.
Exactly.
If it wasn't for Andrew Silla, we wouldn't have met and played soccer or football.
We wouldn't have
together.
those wonderful memories, right?
Absolutely.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please check out Rami's apps, and I guess when his website is up, check it out. And please take care of yourselves and subscribe for new videos every Tuesday and Friday. And I'll see you next video.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe.